In the late 1960s, Nashville, Tennessee was the undisputed, shining capital of the country music world. But behind the glittering lights of the Grand Ole Opry and the polished boots of the stars, the music industry was a fortress. It was run by rigid rules, corporate gatekeepers, and tight-suited executives who controlled exactly what America listened to. To make it big in this town, you had to play by their games. You had to sing their way, dress their way, and follow the corporate line. Unless, of course, you were a man named Kris Kristofferson. In 1966, if you walked into the heavily guarded hallways of Columbia Records, past the platinum plaques and the velvet-lined recording booths, you would have seen a rugged, quiet young man holding a broom. He was emptying ashtrays, cleaning toilets, and sweeping the dark, glossy floors. To the wealthy record executives walking past him, he was completely invisible. He was just another underpaid, desperate janitor in a town full of broken dreams. But this janitor possessed a secret that nobody in Nashville could possibly fathom. He was not an uneducated drifter. He was, by all definitions, a certified genius. Kris Kristofferson was a brilliant Rhodes Scholar who had crossed the Atlantic to study English literature at the prestigious Oxford University in England. He was a fiercely intelligent man who could quote William Blake and Shakespeare from memory. More than that, he was a highly decorated former U.S. Army captain and a master commercial helicopter pilot. He had recently been offered one of the most prestigious jobs in the country, teaching English literature to the elite cadets at West Point Military Academy. But Kris did the unthinkable. He turned the job down. He walked away from a guaranteed life of honor, wealth, and prestige. He broke his family's heart, causing a rift with his mother that would never fully heal, all for one singular, desperate, burning dream. He wanted to write country music. He wanted to tell the raw, ugly, beautiful truth of the American experience. So, he packed his bags, moved to Nashville, and took a job emptying trash cans. But Nashville didn't care about his Oxford degree or his military medals. To the Music Row elite, he was just a guy with a mop. Kris was writing absolute masterpieces in a tiny, run-down apartment at night. But during the day, he couldn't get a single executive to give him 2 minutes of their time. He was drowning in rejection. He knew that there was only one man in the entire world who would understand the dark, poetic soul of his music. He needed to reach the reigning king of the outlaws, Johnny Cash. Cash was a titan. He was untouchable, surrounded by managers, bodyguards, and a grueling tour schedule. Kris tried everything. He handed his rough demo tapes to Cash's wife, June Carter, begging her to play them for Johnny. June, trying to be polite, would take the tapes, but they inevitably ended up tossed into closets, thrown under car seats, or lost in the chaotic whirlwind of Cash's skyrocketing fame. Kris was running out of time, running out of money, and losing hope. The heavy steel doors of the music industry were slamming shut in his face, one by one. That was when the military pilot inside the exhausted janitor finally took over. Kris realized that asking for permission was getting him nowhere. If he wanted to be heard, he had to take it by force. In 1969, to make ends meet, Kris was working a dangerous part-time job flying commercial helicopters for an oil company in the Gulf of Mexico. It was grueling work, transporting roughnecks to and from offshore oil rigs. One warm Tennessee afternoon, Kris was scheduled to fly a massive commercial chopper. But as he gripped the controls, something snapped. Instead of flying his usual corporate route, Kris made a radical, highly illegal decision. He He hijacked his own commercial helicopter. He lifted the massive machine off the tarmac, pulled the nose up into the Tennessee sky, and set his coordinates straight for Hendersonville. He was heading directly toward Johnny Cash's luxury, heavily guarded lakeside estate. Imagine the absolute madness of this scene. Johnny Cash, the legendary Man in Black, is sitting quietly inside his home. Suddenly, the windows of the mansion begin to rattle violently. The deafening roar of a jet turbine engine shakes the very foundation of the house. The water on the lake starts to violently churn. Cash steps out onto his front porch, completely stunned, shielding his eyes from the blinding dust, flying debris, and razor-sharp grass blades whipping through the air. And sitting right there, right in the middle of his pristine, beautifully manicured front lawn, is a full-sized commercial helicopter. Its blades are slicing through the air, tearing up the yard. The cockpit door slides open. Stepping out into the blinding dust is the dirty, exhausted janitor from Columbia Records. He is not panicking. He is perfectly calm. In one hand, he is casually holding a half-empty can of cheap beer. In the other hand, he is tightly clutching a small magnetic tape. On that tape was a song called "Sunday Mornin' Comin' Down." Kristofferson walked slowly across the ruined, chopped-up grass. He walked right up to a completely speechless Johnny Cash, handed him the tape, gave a slight nod, turned around, climbed back into his helicopter, and flew away into the sunset. It was the most dangerous, illegal, and utterly brilliant gamble in the history of modern music. Cash didn't call the police. He didn't call his lawyers. He looked at the tape, walked back inside his house, put the reel into the player, and pressed play. As the raw, deeply melancholic lyrics about loneliness, hangovers, and lost faith filled the room, Cash's jaw dropped. He realized he wasn't just listening to a song. He was listening to the future of American music. Johnny Cash not only recorded the song, but he defied network television executives to perform it live on the Johnny Cash Show, refusing to change a single controversial word. He introduced the world to the janitor who built a revolution. That single act of pure madness didn't just launch a career. It birthed the legendary, unapologetic era of outlaw country. It proved that sometimes, to make history, you have to break every rule in the book.